Hello, everyone. Welcome to VR Gamescast. I'm Ian Hamilton in New York, joined by my co-host Don Hopper in Missouri. And we've got Henry Stockdale and David Heaney out there gathering news on games and technology. We've got Beck Gibson out there hosting this podcast for us today, and Robin out there in the comments. I see Spatial Bigs and a lot of regular viewers out in our comments. We're still building up our promotion for this Gamescast. We thank you to any viewers that watched the previous iterations of this or the VR download. Don, what do we have today?
Man, we've got a couple of really good things to talk about today, Ian. So we're gonna kind of lead it off by talking a little bit more about Arkham Shadow, and I know that's one that a lot of people are really getting excited about. We're gonna also talk a little bit about Just Dance, and then I've spent the better part of this week scouring through VRChat, looking for some of the best worlds as talked about by the community. And, you just wrote a great article about that. So we're going to showcase three of those worlds today as well.
Sounds great. Nice little collection here of things to cover. We're kind of demonstrating, I think, our philosophy here that it's more than just the games you go and get on the store that represent what you can do with your time in VR that's fun. You can play
Absolutely.
a lot of different ways. So
There's so
let's
many
get
out
into
there.
that first subject here.
Okay. So yeah, I think the first thing we were going to talk about today was the Batman Arkham Shadow again with the trailer. Now, not a lot of information out there other than the two trailers that Meta has released. We just got a really interesting look at the Summer Games Fest for the latest trailer,
Yeah.
and that latest trailer revealed a few things. I've been kind of scouring the internet and are reporting on it as well as others, and just kind of breaking that trailer down a little bit, it definitely looks to be a prequel to Arkham Asylum, and sometime kind of set in
Yeah,
between
throw that up for
those
us
games.
back
Yeah,
up on
let's
the
get that
TV so
trailer up
people can
there.
look at the story trailer. Now, this is obviously not showing any gameplay. This is
No,
showing the
no, this is
setting, the
all.
background. This is
Yeah,
yeah.
this is all cinematic. This is all basically, but it kind of sets up the story of what we're going to see in the game, and kind of also introduces us a little bit more to the main villain of the game. And so in this one, I mean, the basic plot that I'm getting out of this is that it's going to involve a new villain, or not so much a new villain, the Rat King. Basically, I'm feeling that's kind of a take on the Arkham versus take on Ratcatcher, who we've seen in some of the animated shows like Batman Beyond and Quinn series. And obviously they really talked a little bit more about that kind of villain's backstory in the Suicide Squad movie, where they showed his daughter as one of the members of the Suicide Squad, Ratcatcher 2. But basically, this one, we've got this new guy, the Rat King. He's coming into Gotham, and he has, basically abducted Commissioner Gordon, Harvey Dent, and now Batman's got to go figure it all out.
I'm gonna have to plug in here at some point. I'm searching for my USB cord somewhere around me.
This
It's
is like,
floating
what
around
is
there
Ian
while I'm
doing? He's
live here.
searching for USB.
I'm seeing I'm seeing Arlen in our comments saying the Organism Trilogy VR chat worlds are amazing. That is one of the
That
ones we
is
will get into. That is
definitely, we will be talking about that.
one of the
Hmm.
ones Don went on a tour through. Yeah, so Batman Arkham Shadow is made by Camouflage. That is a studio that has been acquired by Meta.
Hmm.
Their previous game is Iron Man VR, and that is a major title when it comes to embodiment and making you feel like you are a character you've literally only dreamed of becoming. You've
Absolutely.
read comic books of years ago, maybe watched movies, and in your imagination imagined what it would be like to have these powers. Well, Iron Man VR does an incredible job of putting you in the body of Tony Stark and then feeling like you're suiting up is an incredible moment, even on Quest 2 hardware. I think that's what it launched on,
No, yeah,
right?
absolutely. I mean, it's also just another testament to the power of virtual reality. We've
Yeah.
dreamed about these things since we were kid. I want to be Batman. I want to be Iron Man, and now through these experiences and through VR, I can.
So what I love about this is, so I talked to Ryan Payton, one of the leaders over there at Camouflage, this company that is working for Meta as one of their studios, and he said that they've been working on this game for about 4 years in various
Mhm.
iterations, and the big thing that he was able to convey to me, even though they haven't shown any gameplay, they say that they're sort of holding out their big reveal for Gamescom later this summer. So that'll be the Germany-based event
Yeah.
that has a lot of developers show up for. It's a major event to show off one last time before the fall push your game, and I think that's what they're lining up to show the big reveal for Arkham Shadow. But what he was able to say to me was that they focused on using a significant chunk of the CPU and GPU inside the Quest 3 to do real-time shadows. So
Mhm.
Batman casts a real shadow over the villains that he's intimidating or trying
So,
to pummel into submission.
is this the first game on Quest 3 that does that?
No, so there's other games that do shadows, but what we'll have to like, so we did Pop 1, right? We did Pop 1 together and that had some cool shadows in it. The thing about this is we're gonna have to get in here and see how expansive the levels feel
Mhm.
and what happens based on these shadows. So they say Batman casts a shadow, the environment casts a shadow, and I believe the enemies also cast shadows. But that's dynamic, real time,
Well, and that's what I was
environmental.
talking about is dynamic real-time shadows, and, you
Well,
know no, I was gonna
what
say,
they
one of the
described.
co no,
Sorry,
go
go
ahead, I'm
ahead.
sorry. No, we gotta get this timing down. No, I was just gonna say, one of the things, and it kinda goes along with shadows is, and you were talking about them really pushing that processing power, some of the comments that I've seen, and I think we kinda alluded to this on our first show when we talked about Five Nights at Freddy's, um, the use of dark, to kinda lessen some of that, processing power.
Sorry, I used the word dynamic there, where I'm going to use real time shadows. So they
Real-time
confirmed
shadows,
real
okay.
time shadows, and the thing that's tricky is, yeah, all right. So Arlen's saying, I don't care how cheesy this sounds. I want a moment where I get to throttle a street punk, pick him up by the collar, look him in the eye, and say, "I'm
Yes,
Batman." Okay,
yes.
if they don't advertise this game with everyone that from kids to
Mhm.
adults, putting on the headset and saying I'm Batman in their
They
own words, right? And it's a ready made commercial. It needs I could tell the AI generation to go make that commercial for
I'm just
me.
gonna throw it out there. Put it in the game, man. Throw the microphone. Enable the microphone. Throw it out there where in certain points of the game I have to say the phrase "I am Batman." You know, it's like
They well, all right, so that's the moment that was described to me by Ryan, that he had the engineers work on real-time shadows. He said to the team it has to work. He
mhm,
even described going and getting a and asking a Xbox 360 to be brought into the office so they could look at Metal Gear Solid
mhm.
shadows and compare how it was done back then on that system to get shadows to work, and they've apparently applied some of those techniques to the current system and Quest 3, focusing on Quest 3 only, not making it backward compatible with Quest 2. This is a moment from a Meta-owned studio to try to make a statement about what mobile VR is capable of and what they can do with that processing power. Now, we're gonna have to wait until August to see it, but
Exactly.
this was us. This is Upload VR, me with my reporting, and us and our team trying to see if we could like single out exactly what are you doing with all that money and with what you're trying to build with these systems. Like there's been 8 different studios that have been acquired over the last several years. Beat Saber is still one of them, right? Still chugging
Mhm.
hard, doing one game, and then we haven't seen a whole lot of new things from all the other studios. So this is a big moment for us to
Well,
see what exactly does
I'll tell
Meta
you,
do
that's
with
actually a good
gaming
transition
on its
point because you're
system.
talking about new things coming from studios, and Beat Saber being a rhythm game. So Just Dance, coming to Quest now, originally coming to Pico.
Yeah, that's a funny one where
Yeah,
we
put it up.
reported out that it had changed partners. So Pico had been the original funder of that game. What was that, Beck? Yeah, throw up.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yeah, she's
we're
got to
looking
go.
at what they've shown for Just Dance here, and so Just Dance was announced as Pico partnership, and
Mhm.
then Pico never launched its headset in the United States. So they, from by all indications, kind of shied away at the last second from
Well,
the idea of trying to launch a Pico headset in the West. And
yeah.
the only game that they really got out in front of that and said we're launching exclusively on our platform is Just Dance. Well, they fired a lot of people, laid off a bunch of people, and have changed their plans and are coming back at it without Just Dance as part of their lineup. Now it's going to be finished by Meta. That was our reporting, was that a new partner had decided to swoop in there and help them finish the game, and it's now apparent that it's Meta. This is going to be a big game, I think,
I think
for
it is. Yeah.
rhythm
I mean,
fans.
it could be, it's just like another Wii moment, I mean, that, we kind of thinking back historically to, that console and when we started seeing those types of fitness-based, dance-based, motion-based games, and then the appeal that they brought. So, I mean, obviously those games do very well on the platform. I mean, as seen through, Synth Riders, Beat Saber. I mean, so people really crave that rhythm based gaming. So I think Just Dance is going to be something that surprises some people.
I do. Yeah, I'm sort of keeping an eye out for the first games that really authentically bring your feet into VR.
Hmm.
We've got a lot of confusion, I think, out there amongst people who don't know that Vive trackers cost hundreds of dollars,
Oh, big time.
and there's no really compatibility layer to consider for like any kind of rhythm games. But Dance Dance Revolution has always been the one in the back of my mind. People spent hundreds of dollars on their mats that they
Hmm.
brought into their own home for that game. Not to mention the standing on the mats for hours if you went to the arcade to play that game. It's kind of silly that VR headsets don't track your feet, and I think at some point we'll like
Well, and
I get
even
into this with David. I always fight with him on our VR download podcast about him explaining to me the reasons why a headset would have such problems reconstructing the movement of your feet in the variety of
so,
ways.
but see, I
But
gotta say, for
we
something
need
like
dance games.
DDR, well, for something like DDR, why has not someone created some sort of interface where we could just Bluetooth the mat to, our headsets or to a PC, connecting that, and then that is literally not tracking your feet, so to say, but you're still able to play the game in the traditional way. So,
100%. Yeah, so Supernatural sells a mat for just under your feet. It's a plain dumb piece of fabric that just sits and centers you so that you can swipe those for your exercise. Don's exactly right. You just need up, down, left, right? Like
that's
that's
up,
the
down, left,
classic
right. That's
thing that
just
everyone
for the
wants.
classic thing, exactly. And then we are playing DDR and VR. So let's see. Do we have any comments going on here?
Yeah, Arlen over here is noticing that we do not have proper occlusion. We apologize for not
Yes, we are working
occluding.
on it.
Yeah,
So
we have videos without sound, videos with sound. We want to give people out there a sense of what we're talking about, who can watch us. But there's plenty of people out there who can't watch us that are listening to us only on a podcast or maybe listening to us in the background while they're doing something out. But yeah, we will try to get that fixed
which is a good
over
plug that
time.
we do put this out as an audio podcast as well. So
Yeah, well, let's move on here. I'm excited to get to the last subject
oh,
after
me too.
Flight Simulator, but
Me
let's
too.
get into Flight Simulator here because I know you're a fan of flight sims, and every time I see you in your rotating chair, I giggle a little bit. Um, Don, how many hours have you spent in Flight Simulator, and what silly
Well,
chair am I talking about for the people that don't
considering
know? Oh my
okay,
gosh, we've
so
got the got
oh,
David
oh,
Jagno out
hey,
there.
we got
Wow.
the Jaggernaut in the chat. What's going on, David? So, okay, so now I'm gonna like wax nostalgic for a second because we're talking about one of my favorite subjects. So, Christmas 1984, 85. I'm on my IBM PC Junior, and there's this little box under the tree, and I just knew I could shake it and I could feel that there was a floppy disk in it, and So I'm like, I'm the bad kid. So, snuck in there and I opened that thing up and it was Microsoft Flight Simulator, like OG, very first one. Vector gravity, line graphics was just horrible looking compared to today. But I took it out of the box. I made a copy of the disc, slept it back in there. Parents never knew. But I've been playing that game since like 1984, 85, watching the evolution of this. And it's gotten incrementally better over and over and over again. But when we got to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and Asobo got a hold of it, the game changed. I mean, this became one of the most realistic flight simulations I've ever seen. And I mean, and it's a testament. I mean, since that game came out, they have had 12 million unique users playing the game since launch. And over the last 4 years, um, and they have a consistently strong monthly user base still. So now 4 years later, we finally, like, if we can get that trailer up, if we don't have it, we finally get the trailer here for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. And while graphically it looks a little bit better, really a lot of the stuff that went on here was under the hood. So they've got some new aircraft coming. I mean, we already got helicopters, but now we're going to have helicopters for missions like cargo transports. We're going to have industrial cargo planes. There's going to be VIP charter services like skydive aviations and air racing, and then you can even like charter hot air balloon trips in the game and go sightseeing in hot air balloons. And then there's new career paths. They're going to have like firefighting career paths where you're going to be able to do aerial firefighting and search and rescue. And then of course Red Bull has always had a kind of a collaboration with them. They're going to have Red Bull air racing in there. They're going to have air ambulance services, cargo transports by fixed wing aircraft and helicopters. So all of these new career codes are really going to bring more real world civilian aviation activities into the game. And there's also new weather. We're going to have tornadoes and large storms and dynamic seasons, which we've really been wanting, as the flight simulator community has wanted those dynamic seasons for a while. And then the last thing that I was really excited about, especially if you have a lower end rig, is that they're bringing cloud-based data storage, which is finally going to bring shorter load times. So anybody playing Flight Simulator 2020, it sometimes it takes forever to load these massive, highly detailed maps. So moving some of that and off, putting it to the cloud, it's going to get you into the game faster, keep you in the game longer.
Yeah, so I'm getting nostalgic myself for having David Jagno in our comments watching us, saying he's admiring your chair out there that he always sees on your
We
stream.
didn't talk about, yes, the Yaw VR. Yes, so that is the original Yaw VR, is the chair that I use. And it is adding motion to virtual reality is a complete game changer. I mean, if it's done right, the feeling of simulating G forces when you're in something like DCS or Flight Simulator, or even space-based combat like Elite Dangerous or something like that, it just changes the game. And
yeah. Whenever I see you in it, it's eye-opening to me, because like I think average sort of everyday viewers who don't know that VR is capable of that kind of it catches their eye as something like
Now,
that they
granted,
didn't
that does
realize
take it
that
to
it
an
could get
extreme.
that real.
I mean, not everybody out there is in a position where they're going to be able to go, and it's kind of a pay to play situation. I mean, yes, we can have those experiences, but that share is you're gonna drop over $1,000 for it. So it really brings up the point: how bad do you want that immersion? How deep down the rabbit hole do you really want to take virtual reality?
Yeah, I've been asking, does this turn a 4090 into a toaster in VR? I love that way of framing it. It's one of the things that David and I get into on our VR download. Is
my studio gets hot.
He is really deeply knowledgeable on exactly how much performance you can get out of a cell phone class chip, whereas you're still talking thousands of dollars that it costs to get these experiences. I really wonder, like, when the bubble finally bursts, or if the bubble finally bursts on GPUs that are basically built or or sold for cryptocurrency was out there first, but now they're using what GPU clusters for
Oh yeah.
AI solving.
Oh, big
If
time. Yeah. Nvidia is
When do
the
we
big.
get back to GPUs built just to draw the world at the highest resolution possible on the device you have locally? Like, I wonder about the increased cost that is facing a lot of PC gamers out there, how much they're being forced to shoulder just for people,
Mhm.
who want to build AI clusters when
Well,
that's not
and
what
I
they want. They want a really high resolution game at a high frame rate.
and I think our major solution to that problem come when we finally get the latency to an acceptable point where cloud computing is, you know, viable.
Well, we've got
I
a
mean,
long way. We've got a long way. So there's a comment here. Where is it? Ivan also saying Flight Simulator needs to transition to GTA when you land. I really
okay,
appreciate that
I
comment.
appreciate that comment, and that would be amazing. I mean, to be able to literally, because I've done it. I have literally taken the quadcopter, taken off from my local airport, and landed it in front of my house. I like to get out and walk down my street. That would be
Yep.
cool. Or go sightseeing in a major city. Just get in my virtual plane and fly over to New York for the day and kind of see your
I
neck of the
had
woods.
I had GTA from my iPhone mirrored into the Apple Vision Pro last night, and it was hysterical how dinky that game is. Like the graphics, the physics, all of it
Hmm.
is the most pared down version of the GTA we all love, right? Like
Yeah.
the screaming game. Like if you go and watch, there are videos out there from people who are doing the most insane mods to GTA and David Jagno in our comments. We've got lots of videos. I know you've done it too,
Oh, big
Don,
time.
of Skyrim mods, right? It's modding these games to have the most beautiful
Cinematic
visuals
realism.
possible.
It's just insane.
It's silly that you can have the entire spectrum, right? Like the worst version of GTA imaginable playable in VR. Plus, if you've got the PC power for it, it's available to you, right? Like you could really mod things
Hmm.
to what you want. But Don, like that, where I'm going with that is if you I want like that what Ivan's describing there is the dream, right? You want
It
to be
is.
able to have complete freedom over the skies as well as complete freedom on foot as well as complete freedom in a car, and man, GTA is the closest there. And
It's
uh
yeah.
so we'll see. I
All
guess
I
we'll
can
see
say
how
is
Meta's agreement with Microsoft goes over the year. There's the Xbox branded Quest 3 coming, and something to keep in mind with both Batman and Just Dance coming later this year. Uh, that Meta is very likely to announce a Quest 3S in the very near future that will open up a new low price point for high end standalone gaming using the latest chipsets, and we expect that system to run a lot of the games that we're talking about today. One of the things that will not run in standalone on Quest 3 is PC VRChat. Don,
yes.
like I it's been a tough week. I think now is the time to talk about the transition to talk about VRChat. Um, we've got 3 videos here queued up for Beck to go through here, and I basically assigned you to go look at VRChat, right, Don?
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
and you reached out to community members, talked to people who were or are at VRChat. The reason I use that in past tense is they laid off 30% of their
Some big
workforce
news
this
this week.
week.
Big news. Yeah. Sad news.
Devastating to people who had put their heart and soul into that company. And I pointed it out on Twitter, and I also pointed it out in our article covering it in the departure sort of news. The when they published the email that the CEO of VRChat sent to all employees, it included that there is 12 weeks of severance minimum
Hmm.
for people who have been at VRChat, plus several extra weeks if you've been there a really long time. And that's there are people that have been there a really long time, which is kind of uh, ridiculous to think about in the history of Silicon Valley, and people that typically work at places a year or two and then jump from place to place. Like, there are
Oh yeah,
people who were legitimately at
like six,
VRChat a
7 years.
very long
Yeah.
time, and they're getting extra weeks of severance in this announcement post, as well as perks for VRChat subscribers. So that was shocking to me, like, to think of departing a company and they're giving you lifetime perks of the
Hmm.
service you left. It says something to me about how the people who are still at VRChat view their ambitions. They see themselves, they see the technology platform as the way of communicating with others in and outside of VR across these various worlds. And like, they're going to give you reduced store fees if you go and continue to operate your store after your time at VRChat. And they're also going to give you like an alumni badge, as well as lifetime VRChat Plus subscriber status. It's it's hard to think of that, like, Don. Like, that takes me back to the old days when you used to have the company town,
Hmm.
and you had to buy everything from the company and get in debt to the company. That's what I see when I see those extra perks being offered to people who are leaving, even though
Hmm.
I'm sure that it mattered quite a bit to those people
Oh,
who
I
are getting
agree.
those
And
perks. So,
Arlen has a good comment here. He says, "I don't fault the company for having to make the cuts when it's done for honest reasons. If it's done just to please shareholders, then not so much."
yeah, and there's been lots of commentary out there. I'm not going to delve into too much of that.
Right.
I've
I was
put
gonna say
my
this is,
two
yeah, this
cents
is
out there
games.
already. Like, this is, you can go read my article, laying it out, right? Those are the
Great
things
article.
I decided to surface. Our DMs are open for people who have anything to share for any reason, inside of VRChat or outside, and
Hmm.
we'll report on things as we confirm and hear about them. Now, the comment about the shareholders is interesting, to think of just what strategy does VRChat hone in on after doing these layoffs. There was the word management. I think I saw that mentioned 12 times in the letter that the CEO wrote. So there's this claim or this expectation that VRChat's management has set up a plan for them that sets them up for success in the future. Well, what is that plan? And there was
Hmm.
talk about in this comment of, needing to be more fiscally responsible, set themselves up so they don't need investment. Well, the best way to get large amounts of investment is to say we don't actually need investment. And so
This is
that's
true.
a very tricky way of getting there. So that's to the shareholders' point out there.
Hmm.
Where I'm going with this, Don, is you very specifically ended up looking at PC VR chat worlds.
I
You went
did.
and captured 30 plus worlds you hopped between, from
35,
all
I
these
think we're at
community
35,
members
36
telling
now.
you what they
Hmm.
think is amazing in VR chat. Give us like a summary. What would you
Sure.
say?
So,
How would you say? Were you surprised? What is your summary of what you saw?
I've got to say I was really surprised, and admittedly, okay, like in the early days, I was a fixture in there. I was always in VR chat. I actually even I put it in our document internally, but I even have a world in VR chat. It's not public. Or actually, I'm sorry, I did make it public. So please go look for VR Gamer Druid's First World if you want to see a really horrible Stargate world. But but I admittedly I hadn't been in there in a few years, and it has grown so much. I mean, there are just some of the most incredible experiments taking place inside the framework of that app. And so you tasked me with going out and finding some of the best worlds as voted by the community. So first thing, I put that out there on X, Twitter, whatever we want to call it these days. I'm going to call it Twitter. So I put that out there on Twitter, and we got a great response to both of our posts on that. And I want to thank everyone in the VR chat and general VR community at large for sending us all of these. And please keep them coming. This is a living document that we're creating here of all of the best worlds, and we're going to be kind of featuring and showcasing those through articles and videos going forward. Yeah, I know I was going to say bye, Ian, but I'll take it for a minute until he comes back. So um, after a little while, I had finally made it through the 35 or 36 worlds that were recommended to us by the community, and we are going through them now and kind of in the process of highlighting specific ones. So today we're going to show three of the first three worlds that we felt were just exceptionally well done. So the first one, and for those of us who travel, some of you may be traveling to AWE next week. We spend lots of times in airports, and an airport is kind of an iconic place. If you've been in an airport, they're somewhat similar. So we took a look, and Beck, if you want to throw that up on the screen there, at the QOO boot, and I'm just butcher this is the airport, yeah. QOOH Bukuma International Airport, and this one was done by H. And I am so sorry if I butcher your name here, H. Doriker. And this one is a detailed recreation of an international airport, and I really got a good feeling of presence in here. I mean, just the little announcements going off and the sounds and just the atmosphere in general of this really made me feel like I was just chilling in the airport.
Yeah, so sorry, I got disconnected there. I don't have Beck's in my ear anymore, so you should have Beck in your ear to convey anything that we need to from the producer. So apologize for that, Beck. I can only hear Don now. Yeah, now we're back to VR chat games and this airport. Don, you just the vastness of this. I was reminded of the Langoliers, that old Stephen King story where
Hmm.
people got locked out of time and they're sort of stuck at an airport looking at a world that's about to be like eaten away by history. That's what it looked like as you were
I can see that.
roaming this airport, and it's astonishing to me the size of some of these places, and they're talking about it in our comments. I think that's as we get into this, we start understanding why they're doing this a little bit, right? VRChat is going to need to figure out some kind of path to get these worlds to run on every device
I agree.
imaginable if they really want to keep themselves as a layer competitive to what Meta is doing with Horizon. Our commenters here saying, I don't know why Meta didn't just absorb VRChat. Well, I think it's because the people at VRChat know the value of the technology that they're working
Hmm.
on is exactly the same technology that Mark Zuckerberg is trying to build in Horizon. And honestly, everyone in our comments and these worlds that we're seeing show the gap between what is able to be done on Horizon and what is able to be done in the vast open landscape of PC VR chat. The problem with that, David, we'll get into it on VR Download with us, is right. How do you get these worlds, these incredible things, to also run on standalone? Is it all running from the cloud, and who pays for that bandwidth? And what happens when the bandwidth fails? What is the fallback? Do you just not get access to your worlds? Do you get a low
Hmm.
resolution world? VRChat now needs to figure out how do they merge this mobile collection of worlds that only run on standalone with this vast open landscape of stuff that will putter along on even the highest end hardware.
Oh yeah. I mean,
They've got to figure out and do all that hard work. But Don, like, if they do anything in their next updates to make these things that we're looking at, like your airport, run worse or not at all, they're going to see people abandon them in droves.
oh,
So
big time.
when I look at this stuff, it's hard for me not to see like this is the bare minimum for the future of VR. Like when I see these worlds and I see this giant airport, I want that to be I want that to be more common. I want there to be more virtual airports that look the fidelity of what you
Well,
captured here.
I want to back in this to the comment we had about Flight Simulator and getting out of the planes. Why am I not getting out of the plane in Flight Simulator and walking into an airport that's detailed like this? you know, that would be amazing. But it's just it really is. just that, I mean, we're seeing these incredibly large worlds. You know, you're talking about the size of the airport, but not just incredibly large worlds. Kind of transitioning to the next one here, with the TC Falcon 2 and the planet Funkatron by TC Pool. We're starting to see games like fully thought out games, and I know we've had those in VR chat for a while, but some of the games that I'm coming across when I was visiting these suggestions from the community are better. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it, they're better than some of the things that we see released on App Lab. It's and it's like, my God, I want to see some of these experiences again. To your point, is it going to run on standalone hardware? Because some of these experiences were chugging my PC, and I'm running a 4090 with 64 gigs of DDR5 and a 13900K. So,
Yeah, so Shala in our comments saying VR chat can bring a 4090 to its knees. There can
oh, big
never be
time.
parity between PC and standalone. Absolutely true. And then there's another comment here that says VRChat needs to move towards Quest 3 as the hardware baseline. I get it, there are 20 million Quest 2s, but that's what's needed. Here's my problem with that, and the way I think about the numbers. I think VRChat probably knows something that Steam knows, and that's when people get tired of using their headsets in standalone, some of them get resuscitated by connecting them to a
Hmm.
PC. And so I don't actually think what my pushback on Arlen's comment about the hardware baseline. Yeah, sure, the Quest 3 is going to be a better hardware baseline than the Quest 2 is, but I'm going to argue the baseline is more like a 1080 from 2017, right?
I
It's
agree on
it's the
that.
hardware that ran the original Oculus Rift and the original HTC Vive. That's what I think is more like the baseline of experiences that VR chat and Steam content need to serve, because it's talking about a very large base of PC users, and it only gets bigger over time, that
Exactly.
meet that minimum star. If you can get parity or some kind of streaming service for VR chat that expands from 1080 on up, uh, you've got a good flexible system that runs across all of your most hardcore engaged users.
Well,
But I don't
and
know.
I think
That's their problem to solve, not mine.
was going to say, I think we need to get to that because Mycelium here had a good comment that the community in VR chat is currently split between the PC players and the standalone players, and it causes a little bit of animosity between them. So unifying that platform to one medium per se might be focusing on Quest 3, but then we would still see those PC players who have been in it for the longest, with the same thing that we see on other games that get ported to Quest 3, in the fact that, oh, well, now they've taken my VR chat and they've dumbed it down for standalone hardware.
Yeah, so a lot of interesting discussions here. We're not going to solve this
No,
issue,
no,
and
not at
we
all.
obviously we're going to have to see what the companies out there do with their partnerships, with uh, their technology stacks, figuring out how to get them to work together. But I think we're all kind of seeing the same thing. VR chat needed to prove to someone, whether it's themselves, investors, uh, that they can be a little bit more fiscally responsible
Yeah,
and focused in one specific direction in the future. It's interesting if you think about the two opposing like pressures here. You had Meta, which had a year of efficiency, and they tossed many, many thousands of managers. And then you read this document from VRChat, and they're like, well, actually, what we missed was having management at the wrong time. We
right.
needed more managers. Kind of like opposite, they're coming at it from opposite problems, so to speak, at least if you believe their current management. Um, we got the third one here. Well, I want to hear about
Well,
Funkatron. We
we
didn't even
really
get
didn't
into
talk about
Funkatron,
Funkatron.
right?
Yeah, we kind of got off a trick there. So, I mean, this is a huge world. Okay, I mean, like there is so much stuff to find in there, so many little Easter eggs, so many places to go, and like the way that they describe it, it is far too buck wild to explain, and it is really I'm not gonna lie, even for someone who was in there for like a good 2 hours the other day, it's still hard for me to explain. So, you're going to be doing a lot of different things. You're going to be going down to the planet, exploring the ship. There are NPCs in there. There's dialogue. There's story. So, again, kind of bringing it back to the fact that we're starting to see these fully realized experiences in VR chat, not just a room for me to go and hang out and chat with my friends, an actual world to exist in with my friends. So,
Yeah, I think that brings us a little bit to yeah, proper moderation is one of the questions here, where Rec Room has they went really, really hard into every console there is. So they have to deal with the moderation policies of every console platform there is. But they're there, right? Rec Room is everywhere. But you can see in their worlds, like there's not the amount of what there's not the playground of avatars to begin with. You've got very plain situation over there, and then just how does VR chat grow up is that kind of like fundamental question. How do you have a platform that is fundamentally a free space for anyone and everyone become a major business? That's what we have to see happen here, and I think what they're going to be like looking for funding partners who will let them be as freewheeling as they've been so far, while also trying to compete with whatever Meta is able to do. Yeah, I tried to understand this one. The reason I went off on that tangent is like this thing. I saw it in our comments. How does something that like gets made for VR chat or let's say Roblox or Rec Room become something on another platform, a money making endeavor for someone? And in the case of VR chat, right, like there's a there's a community. There are content creators making significant sums
oh,
from
big time.
avatar creation and from content and from like world creation for specific like people who are searching for artists out there. And that exists a little bit in Rec Room, and I think it exists a little bit in Horizon. But whether these platforms are sustainably supporting creators for decades to come is not like that's a whole different question. Do people, are we going to have custom tailors for your avatars or someone who's really an expert at what makeup on your hands in virtual
Well, I mean,
reality? Like
yeah, you're starting to talk about the entire economy and scale of the metaverse at this point. I mean, we're going to
that's
have people that literally have jobs and they could very well work inside VR chat as that, avatar tailor or, so yeah, I could totally see that happening.
And Shalas saying moderation of VR chat kills VR chat. The whole point is that it's old internet, 100% sandbox, no rules. And that flies in the face of funding, right? I
Yeah,
think
no,
that's the
that's
tension
where
that people are
VCs are going to be
commenting on
like,
is,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Well, I think, are we ready to talk about the organism yet? Because I saw the organism talked about in our
sure.
comments as a specific trilogy
Yeah,
of worlds, and I think you had some fun in this. So
I
why don't you
did.
break it down?
I tell you, and again, it's another one of those where I can't really explain what it is. But then again, the Dr. Morrow, the creator of the world itself, in his description, states that it is exploring seamlessly ending buildings that make no sense and yet are eerily familiar. And that's what it was. I mean, it everything felt really cool and the scale was great and everything felt familiar, but then everything just took a turn and there's so many places to explore, so many little things to find. The game this one is hard to describe unless you experience it, but this one was, I would say, the most recommended experience out of all of them. When we started reaching out to the community, everyone was saying check out the worlds from Dr. Morrow as one of the premier creators, and definitely check out Organism.
Yeah, and I like that they defy description in many ways, and I think one of the one of the reasons they defy description is these are cyberpunk, but
Hmm.
when that word was coined, cyberpunk was words like words in a book. It
Exactly.
was not an actual place you could go. And these are things like actually pieced together from like found artifacts and
Hmm.
different places that weren't necessarily purchased. They were acquired through just sharing or ripping of materials between different things. I don't know if it's this one in particular, but it is this content question that people are talking about in our comments, where it's just that is cyberpunk fundamentally when you
Yeah.
get this vibe of like people hacking into uh large structures with the cheapest possible materials. Like that's what it feels like when you see these spaces piecemeal pieced together with hollow audio and weird trippy things around every corner.
Hmm.
Like that's what VRChat is at its very heart. And these first three worlds you showed us are like the beginning.
Oh,
It's
just scratching
barely
the
even
surface.
scratching the surface.
Oh my God, we have over the next couple of shows. We'll probably, I mean, we'll probably end up throwing some of these, into each show, or like you said, like I said, when you zipped out, we're gonna have articles and videos and things. There's so much to explore there, and guys, keep the suggestions coming. I got to tell you, I have seen some of the most incredible sights that I have seen in VR in years this week alone in VR chat. And if you haven't been in there, I highly encourage you, at least on these first three, go to our site, check out Ian's article. There are links to each one of the descriptions. There's a little video clip that you guys have seen on the show today, with those, so you can kind of get a feel for it yourself. But if you have VR chat, if you have it on PC VR, especially, go check out these worlds. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah, we've got Paul asking, is Microsoft finally going to make a Forza Horizon playable in VR ever? Yeah, that is a
That'd be
tempting
great.
one. The speed, that's the thing Forza nails really well is this feeling of speed and
It really does.
uh, yeah, and I want Gran Turismo on PC. That's my dream. If you can get uh
Yeah.
that full experience on a full rig out of a PC, PSVR 2 or otherwise, that's mine. But what I would watch in the area for Microsoft is what partnerships does Microsoft make to stream Xbox to new places or stream certain experiences within Xbox to certain places. So that is a good call out. Forza Horizon is a big property that
Mhm.
they could do a lot with, and there are a lot of properties inside of Microsoft's mega corporation that they could do interesting things with.
Well, even Game Pass. I mean, we have a lot of VR titles. In fact, I forgot to mention that when we are talking about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, right there on there, it's day one Game Pass. So, obviously with the ability for us to use Game Pass in our headsets now and play, nice big screen flat games, as well as now, if you have a PC and you have Game Pass, having some VR titles, especially some big upcoming ones like Flight Simulator 2024 coming to that platform. It's definitely something that I use personally, and I love having that freedom. So
Yeah, I think we're getting close to the end of our show here. If you want to look at the comments and see if there's anything
looking through it,
specifically you want to respond to, I like Clayman's comment. I've seen things you people wouldn't
people wouldn't
believe.
believe tax on ship. Oh my God, that is,
Yeah.
yes,
Beautiful
baddies.
quote. It
Uh,
speaks to my heart a little bit. Yeah, you get Don with that one.
yes,
That's it.
tears in the rain, tears in the
That's
rain.
what VR chat feels like. It feels like it is fulfilling that vibe of the cyberpunk things we saw in those decades, and here it is,
Indeed,
this modern technology that's actually doing it, and like anyone that looks at Horizon Worlds and sees what it's doing from its very inception has felt like this is VR chat light, right? Like
it is.
this is what you're trying to grow it into, and they're going to continue
I really
trying
think
to be
Meta's
that.
trying to go a different way with it, though. So, I mean, they're really trying to go more of the corporatized, where VR chat's trying to remain the scrappy, you know, like what we were talking about, 100% open, you know, platform. So
So, Fast Lawyer's comment, is the organism coming as a standalone to PCVR? I love the question. We don't know. We
we don't know.
will
Yeah.
try to find out if things like that are happening. And it is at the very front of our task. That is the biggest challenge
All I can
that
see is
we have
I
had to
several of
face.
these could easily become their own standalone titles. I
And
mean,
if VRChat can figure out a path forward for making that easier for devs, like that's part of one of the directions they can go. Um, but I think the focusing on VRChat here on the Gamescast, we had David Jagno in our audience, one of the former members of UploadVR, went on to greater, better things. So impressed with him and everything he's done. But also, like, it's breaking my heart to think of him back in this studio with us because we haven't had to have these conversations or see this moment where uh, the lines are blurring between what is a game and what is an
it is
experience
that, and I
and
think
what
that's what we're trying
is
to get across. Yeah,
yeah, like you could have a game that you can play first person, third person, like it's a toy in front of you. You could have games that you revisit from the 1990s that are now playable in a completely new way. These are things we saw brewing back with David a couple years ago. And Don, you've been watching it over on your channel and what you've been doing. It's just reaching a fever pitch, and
it
it's
is.
it's new things all the time. And we would be doing a disservice to our audience not to shine a light on all these amazing things that are happening in user created worlds. So we've just got to encourage our audience to email tips@uploadvr.com,
Please.
point us with links to interesting things, show us videos. If you've got something that you don't think we're going to have time to load up, you can send us videos, uh, and that helps us understand what's going on out there. It's a chore to put on a headset, download a world, link out there. It help us understand what's cool in your worlds. Tips@uploadvr.com. Always appreciate getting
Hmm.
interesting things emailed to us there. We have our showcase coming up in
Big.
just a few weeks. That's June 26th at 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll have a blog post up on uploadvr.com very shortly, previewing or teasing some of the reveals we've got coming for that showcase. And I've seen all the entries. I know how things are shaping up, and it's a lot of really cool mixed reality content. I'm very proud of the way this lineup is shaping because, um, Don, it's you, the the way this is shaping up. Shooters are not at the forefront of our show,
What?
and that's a big deal, even though it shouldn't be, right? Like, we're
But
seeing
it should be.
creativity, we're seeing people really realize that you can
So,
do a lot of other things with
not
your
just
hands in
zombies
VR. Yeah,
and
not just zombies,
not
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 just
not just
zombie
wave
shooters.
shooters.
Nope,
No,
nope. We've
really.
got
Oh wow.
we
Okay.
got some different things. We've got Creature coming to bring some of their projects. If you don't know this uh, company, it's started by Doug North Cook. They're calling themselves a label and not like a publisher.
Hmm.
And they've got publishing agreements or development agreements that they are working out with some of the most creative groundbreaking developers in the VR space, and they're bringing several projects to our showcase here at Upload VR. And I can't wait for people in our audience to
So
get
good.
a deeper look at some of the things that they're working on. One of the trailers is an absolute dream come true for me personally to see, to imagine myself playing. I hope it resonates as much as it resonates with me, with our audience, and just want to hype up what's coming together for the showcase a
So
little
much
bit.
good stuff.
We'll be back with the VR Games cast hopefully next Thursday at our
Thursdays.
regular time.
Thursdays.
Don and Beck out there are both tasked with trying to get us out there at a regular time so that we don't have the reputation that David and I have over with the VR download, that we go live whenever the hell we feel like it, basically. Beck and Don are going to try to keep us to the times that we say that we're going to be here. Thank you to our audience for sticking with us. we have a very big couple weeks in store. I think we'll probably tease the showcase with next week's Gamescast a little
Yeah.
bit. So if you've got something you want us to tease in that Gamescast, you can also email tips@uploadvr.com for that. And yeah, Onakazi says we're threatening Thursdays. We'll see if we actually
We're
deliver on
coming.
it. I
We're coming.
appreciate that.
Thursdays.
Thank you. All right. I'm ready. Are you ready to call it, Don?
I'm ready. Are we doing What Are You Holding?
Oh
this week?
gosh, yeah. Okay. Oh, you're right.
What's he in?
Thank you.
Okay, find
All right.
something. Yeah,
All
because
right.
we know that's like a weekly segment. We got to.
You're right. You're right. You're right. My bad. My bad. All right. I pulled it from the TV.
Okay. Oh, from the TV. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
What is Ian holding? Well, no, I think we already talked about what he was holding last week.
Yeah, we gave it away. It was a Super Nintendo cartridge. This is not.
We didn't do it last week. We didn't actually do a new What Are You Holding?
We didn't do a new one. Yeah, we didn't. So this is a new one. This is a new object. It is not the same object as the last one. Yeah. I think this is enough time. I think we can call it. We can go silent.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the object here.
Chat, we'll give you a shout out or something. We'll find something cool.
Oh, they're asking, do we discuss the Blackmagic VR cameras, the Canon cameras? Go check out the VR download for us to get into things like that on Tuesday.
This is games. Yeah.
That's more David and I. We'll try to discuss that sort of thing. But yeah, come back for Gamescast for all the ways that we play in VR. And
Ivan says dried prunes. Sorry, are you holding dried prunes?
No, that would be interesting though. Yeah, I always loved. Do you ever watch NPR where they like eat things live on audio?
Yeah.
Oh,
and what like listening to it, like what are they?
All right, Beck. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the future.
Peace.